Hello. We have come finally to the end of this great adventure that we've known as
Game of Thrones.
And we've reached a conclusion.
We have finally reached a conclusion.
We've reached a conclusion. It's an important day, I feel, in pop culture and geek culture history. I feel like this is the first real, fantasy TV show that's truly changed the game.
Absolutely changed the game.
I don't think there's anything else that I can think of. Maybe Spartacus. I don't know. Spartacus even. Maybe
that's a
the
reach.
Closest thing I can think of.
Agreed.
Is Spartacus. Hambone, what are we going to be talking about tonight?
Today we are only going to be talking about Game of Thrones.
Only Game of Thrones?
We're only talking about Game of Thrones, including the cocktail that I'm teaching you tonight is a Game of Thrones themed cocktail.
Damn straight it is.
And we've got a plethora of powerful guests coming on the show tonight via phone calls to talk about Game of Thrones.
So I guess we just need to go right into the cocktail because it needs to be done.
I agree. So as much as May was the month of juleps, I went with a specific Game of Thrones themed cocktail. I went onto the internet and found a cocktail for us to make tonight. And this is the Night King Sour. It's brought to you by Johnny White Walker.
I really thought you'd find a red wedding something.
I thought about that, but the other thing was a red drink, so I wanted to change it up a little bit.
No, that's fine. I'm cool with it.
And also, I'm sure at this point, Johnny Walker needs to move some of those Johnny White Walker bottles. So they want you to use Johnny White Walker, but you could just use any Johnny Walker. I say just put it over the plate, use Johnny Walker Black. Definitely don't use that Johnny Walker Blue that someone gave you for your wedding. You save that shit. That's the good stuff. But you're going to do 1 ounce of Johnny Walker Black, a half ounce of blue curacao, a half ounce of lemon juice, always fresh, a half ounce of white grape juice. And you're probably thinking, God, I got to buy so much white grapefruit juice. If you got children, you're going to find some in a juice box. Squeeze it in.
Nobody likes grape juice.
Well, this calls for grape juice.
Okay, but I mean, for kids, I don't remember anybody, did you like grape juice as a kid?
I used to love grape juice as a child.
Really?
I always preferred purple to the white, but that was just a personal preference.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The way you said it, I thought you said grapefruit juice.
Oh, no, this is grape juice.
See, I love grape juice. You're right. Grape juice and grape soda, completely different than grapefruit.
Now, I'm not a father, but I imagine that the grape juice is still a staple in children.
Yes. I was thinking grapefruit.
Yeah.
And I don't understand people who like grapefruit. Why would you like
kind of party?
Why would you like a sour fruit?
It's good as a mixer.
I guess.
I just couldn't drink it straight.
Go ahead.
Anywho,
Sorry.
A half ounce of vanilla syrup and 1 egg white. So this is one of those classic cocktails that is going to require an egg white. So what you want to do is you want to put this in a shaker filled with ice. You want to shake the heck out of it, and then you want to strain it into a rocks glass. This does not require you to fill a glass with ice. You're going to be drinking it straight out of the glass. It is going to turn the most majestic icy blue, and because of the egg white, going to have a nice little froth over the top. So definitely check out the Night King Sour. You can figure out how to make it on the internet.
Game of Thrones ended.
Game of Thrones ended.
So right off the bat, did you like it or did you hate it?
I hated it.
You hated the episode, the season, the whole show?
I loved the show up until, I would say, the Battle of the Bastards. I tolerated the show for about 2 seasons after because there was some cool stuff happening and it was building up to the big finish, which was the Battle of the Night King. I accepted episode 1 and 2 of this season because it was the lead up to the epic battle. I loved the Battle of Winterfell. Definitely think the Battle of the Bastards was better, but I love the Battle of Winterfell. And then for me, the series completely shit the bed in episode 4.
So you completely agree now, and you got to say it. You got to say it out loud. George, you were right.
Well, what am I agreeing that you were right
You're
about?
agreeing. Just say you were right.
No, I'm not going to agree.
You're agreeing that I said that this thing is going to shit the bed when it flips over to the non-book stuff.
Oh, 100%.
And they start rushing to get out the last couple seasons.
Let me get in frame for this. George, you're right.
I am right. You say it to my face one more time.
Oh, I'm going to get on camera first. George, you're right.
I didn't want to be right. So here's a crazy thing on my end, though. I was so prepared for it and ready for it that I was perfectly fine with the ending. I am completely content. I think they found they did what they needed to do. I do not consider this one of the worst endings ever. I consider it a competent ending. I think the way they got there sucked. I think some of the, I think just in general character development sucked. We're going to talk about that throughout the day, throughout the show, though. I just feel that, everything to get here was just so rushed and sloppy that when they finally got there, I'm like, okay, fine. Bran's the king of the world. I'll take it. At this point, I'm not going to go with logic. I'm just going to go with It could have been worse.
It could have been Dexter.
It could have been worse. It could have been Dexter. It could have been X-Files.
It could have been.
It could have been Sons of Anarchy.
So mad about that stuff.
I never saw how you met your mother.
Yeah.
I don't know why there's a show about that, but hey, it is what it is. Quick things to rattle off that we're going to be talking about in coming weeks. Though we are going to have full reviews of the new show, The Wrestlers, that's taking over after Dark Side of the Ring. We're going to be doing John Wick 3 next week. We are also going to be talking about I forgot the other thing we're going to be talking
Detective
about.
Pikachu?
Detective Pikachu. I can't because I didn't get invited to watch Detective Pikachu.
I went alone. That's how I watch movies sometimes.
Yep. Nope. You know, we do a pop culture podcast, but he doesn't bring me to the shows.
Hey, I do my research, which is watching all these movies.
It's okay. It's fine. I won't be upset. Do you think you're ever going to go back and watch Game of Thrones again?
Never.
You think this is it?
Hands down. I thought about this for a little while the other day because how many shows do I actually go back and rewatch? I rewatch Parks and Recreation. I rewatch The Office up until a certain point. I will rewatch The Office. I rewatch Doctor Who. I rewatch Supernatural. It takes a lot for me to rewatch a show. I like rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This, to me, especially because the way the show was structured, doesn't really lend itself to, I could put this on in the background and have an enjoyable experience.
I just want to say really quickly, to catch up on last week's episode, we did not get to put a poll up for the Queers love songs because Facebook got rid of polls. I don't know what's going on.
Unless you're in a Facebook group.
I got to find an alternative thing for that.
There's got to be something.
There's got to be something, but it's not Twitter because nobody that follows me on Twitter knows who the Queers are. I don't know. I got to find some alternative that will work. Maybe it's linking to a poll from Facebook, but nobody likes doing that.
Nobody.
So we are going to jump into our first phone call. I'm going to be juggling the calls today, so Hambone's got to do a lot more lifting on the back end, so there's no
I can't
dead
lift.
air.
I'm prohibited from it.
You have to lift.
Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty cool episode, folks. We are calling in, when I say a plethora, I mean a plethora. We've got a ton of guests tonight from different sides of the Game of Thrones fandom, from different sides of the argument. Some liked it, some didn't, and we're going to see what they got to say. And I'm going to say some real snarky and real petty shit tonight, so prepare yourself.
Winter is coming.
Ian Gonzalez, geek culture historian and friend of the show. Welcome. We're giving you a 10-minute spotlight. We want to know, first of all, what did you like about the last season of Game of Thrones?
I liked that it's over, and I liked that they had the guts to go with Dany's fall, even if they kind of fumbled it a little bit.
And I guess that leads us to, what did you not like?
There was definitely some rushed storytelling. I hated how they took like a Varys story that any other season would have been like a season-long build and shoehorned it into like 20 minutes maybe of that. Like it's like everything he did made sense for the TV version of the character, but it just was so like everything since last season where they seem to discover fast travel and all of a sudden getting around Westeros became a lot quicker and less arduous than it had been for the previous 5 seasons or 6 seasons.
And what pissed me off the most is, yes, there was fast travel. I do agree with it. It's that they spend so much time using the traveling to explain the stories and the world, and that's why the traveling was good. And they just set us up to always be used to, season 2 is gonna be all about so and so walking, and now we lost that, and the fast travel really did hurt. What are you gonna say, Hambone?
So for those listening at home, either watching us or listening to the podcast, if you're not familiar with the term fast travel is from video games where once you reach a certain point, you could bounce around from section to section without having to do all the arduous walking and killing.
Also known as warped.
Warping,
warp zones.
Warp zones.
I feel that anybody listening to the show should be aware of what warping and fast travel is.
Tell.
But
might have the casual Game of Thrones fan checking in.
In video games, it's a great thing.
Yes.
Because you get from point A to B without having to walk through the whole thing again. However, in this case, it meant that we had very little time for character development and bonding, and we just got to where we were. Is there anything that really, really stirred you, Ian, that made you just upset and mad at the world while watching this?
But honestly, Varys' death and the way Varys' arc was handled, I think, was the one the one thing that really got me. Everything else was I was okay with. Also Bran not being Bran until they're like, "Hey, Bran, you're gonna be king," and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's why I came."
What the fuck?
I think that was insane, especially since earlier in the season he had specifically said, or I think in the last season he had said, "Do you want to be king in the North? I do not want to be king. I am the three-eyed raven.
I am no longer Bran. I am the three-eyed raven."
Yeah, and now I'm saying, you know what? On second thought, King of the World is way cooler.
So he shows up for that. It was the best meme. I think one of the best memes I think I saw was a picture of Bran just laying there going, doesn't do a damn thing for the group project, gets an A anyway.
Yeah, and so Vari's my goal, my thoughts at the beginning were, in beginning I meant back when the show first started, I always thought this show was to end with Peter Baelish and Varys on like sharing the Iron Throne. Like those two basically controlled everything. They knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled, and by the end of it, Peter Baelish had a great death. That was a very good death.
Nice lead up to it.
But Varys, like, I'm sorry, you have birds that tell you everything, but you don't know. Like, why would you just pull dumb? Like, why would you break back? Why would you?
Yeah.
I can't say anymore. There was a better term that I used to be able to use a couple years ago.
You get it.
But he just went full dumb, and it doesn't. I don't understand why. It was very poor character development. Same with Tyrion. Tyrion chose to turn his friend in to see him die for a queen that he barely knows.
Yeah, that was some stupid shit.
And time. Yeah. Time means nothing. I couldn't tell how much time was taking between anything.
And that was the thing too, where when Peter Dinklage turned in his best friend, when Tyrion turned his best friend, you would, I guess, assume that a whole bunch of time had passed, and that's why he really trusted her, that he was going against his best friend of all these years. But when you don't even give an inkling of that during the show, even over the last few seasons, you're kind of just like, why would he sell Varys out? That was his homie.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention that, I mean, like, again, like the books and the show are different, but Varys of the books is a much more interesting character because he has an ulterior motive besides just the realm.
And revenge is a great thing. They touched on it a little bit earlier, and I thought they might go towards that later on. No, they showed him. Didn't he have his master in a box or something? Didn't he find?
Yeah, the guy who. Yeah, he found the magician that, or the sorcerer that had turned him into a eunuch. He kept him in a box to torture him for a long time.
As you should. Someone makes you a eunuch.
Ian, thank you so much for calling and say. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any thoughts you want to share about Game of Thrones?
I'm looking forward to seeing Arya. Hopefully, like one of the spinoffs is about her going west.
Yeah, I thought, what is this? She's the Dread Pirate Roberts now. Like that's the end of Arya Stark.
See, I saw that completely differently. I thought it was. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's a little bit of a Lord of the Rings reference where it's like, oh, she's going west, along with like, the way Gandalf and Frodo and Bilbo do at the end of Return of the King.
I saw it completely differently. I thought it was product placement for Westworld.
Hey, that's a great white hope now after Game of Thrones shit the bed.
Well, I don't know. That last season of Westworld was worse than anything on Game of Thrones, so we'll argue that narrative. Ian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Were you a Game of Thrones fan from the very beginning?
I was.
Okay, some people I know, this.
I didn't read the books.
It was a slow build.
You know how I feel about reading.
So we were in the process of watching a horrible period piece, the Arthur and the Knights of the what do you call it, the Sword and Stone.
King Arthur.
King Arthur, was that what it was called? King Arthur. It was so bad. It was 2 seasons of garbage, lots of thous and thee and thou art and just really bad shit. So when Allison's like, there's gonna be a new show on HBO that's going to be a period piece, it's gonna be that era, but it should be better because it's gonna be super brutal and very violent. I was like, all right. I waited on it for like a week. I sat on it and finally fired it up. And that first scene, that first 5 minutes, if that didn't sell everybody on it, and if you didn't love the first 5 minutes, then I said you probably shouldn't watch the show.
Definitely not.
And clearly things have changed in the last 9 years since it premiered. It's become a cultural icon. It's become a major part of TV.
People were naming their children Daenerys. I mean, this is
Arya and Sansa were very popular for a while.
Very popular, too. A cultural phenomenon. This is a juggernaut, I would say, of culture.
And it's so weird that HBO can pull this off multiple times. Isn't it crazy that they had Sopranos?
Yeah.
And Oz even.
And Oz and The Wire.
The Wire wasn't a cultural phenomenon. It became something, and its legacy was more than what it was when it was live.
I will agree with that.
At the time, I think they canceled the show because it wasn't doing. I think they closed it because it didn't have any ratings. But other shows I loved, like Carnival, had even worse treatment.
Oh, but Carnival was fantastic.
For 2 seasons, then it just disappeared.
And Deadwood, which is coming back now with a movie.
Deadwood, I've always wanted to continue watching, but I struggled. I struggled to get through. I don't know. The Wild West is my least favorite period.
Yeah.
Which is why Westworld, as much as I love, is also. If it didn't have the sci-fi elements, I wouldn't like Westworld.
Which is funny because you love playing Red Dead Redemption.
And that's strange, and I'll give you that. So I felt that the last few episodes of Game of Thrones, the Bells, I love the Bells.
Right.
You did not like the Bells.
I loved the idea of the Bells. I didn't like the execution because there was so much I felt that could have led up to that point where when it went down, when Daenerys makes the full heel turn, it should have had a lot more of an impact. Now, granted, she burned the entire city to the ground and killed a bunch of innocent children. However, the lead up would have made it so much more impactful, but we didn't have that.
Did you, one of the things that bothered me was that there wasn't as much emotion. Like, I didn't feel any emotion at the end. Like, I felt like my gut was ringing during the Red Wedding and some of those other episodes.
Oh, yeah.
But I did not have anything towards the end, which is tough, especially after seeing a movie like Endgame that really made the feels happen.
Right, my general feeling towards the end was meh. And that's the thing. I think that they should have just went balls to the wall and made every episode like 2-3 hours, because you know what? People would have watched it. People have sat through Endgame 3-4 times already without blinking at 3 hours and 4 minutes. Like, this is something that we've been watching for 10 years.
I know. And that was, they just did emotion so well. And here, it's almost like they forgot what emotion was.
Yeah.
And it was kind of sad. And I got to be honest, I kind of felt like I chose wrong when I watched. I think I should watch
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And save Game of Thrones for the next day.
Hello.
Hey, we have the Viper on the phone. Man About Tech, how you doing, sir? I figured I'd turn it around and finally put you on our show instead of me constantly appearing on your stuff.
Hey, what's up, George? How you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent.
How's it going?
What do we call you? What should we call you? I know the Christian name is not allowed, so what do we call you on this show?
You can call me Viper.
Viper works. I like Viper. It's like you know.
Totally plays.
I don't know how old you are, but G.I. Joe back in the day, the episode where they thought like the Viper was coming and G.I. Joe was freaking out. It turned out to be the Window Viper. He was like German or Austrian or something. It was one of the best episodes of G.I. Joe ever. Anyway, thank you so much. This is my Thai Happy Hour. I have Hambone with me. We are live. We are talking about Game of Thrones. I wanted to get your thoughts, your feelings. I know you've shed a lot of thoughts on social. Just want to get just gut reaction. When you finished watching that episode, what hit you?
Well, unfortunately, I was already checked out like the prior few episodes because for me, episode 3 was the highlight of the entire series.
You know it.
And then after episode 3, it just went like down. The writing just got off. The everything just seemed kind of rushed. So the finale was actually a little better than 4 and 5 in my opinion, but it didn't really do anything. By that point, I was pretty much already mentally checked out.
I kind of agree with you. I felt the rushing starting earlier. I felt it. So here's the thing, and I've read about this a lot. This was supposed to be one 13-episode season.
Yes.
Like an extensive bloated season. Now, I watched the previous season right before leading into it, so I saw it binged as one season, and it still felt incredibly rushed. But it was a situation where they decided to split it in half for reasons unknown. I think it's because possible that Daenerys had to do solo. There was a lot of movies that were done in that time.
Right.
It's it might have been because of that, but they split it, and it shouldn't have been, because this felt like one disjointed season, and it wasn't a clear split when they split it. If you watched the last season and this season together as a 13-episode season, it's not a clean split because it's not 2 seasons.
No, it isn't.
And that's what I think hurt it a lot. Is there anything you loved about this season, Vipe?
I love seeing Arya kill the Night King. I mean, we've been watching Arya train with the Faceless Men for a few seasons. We've seen her morph into this ninja assassin, just beast. So seeing her kill the Night King, the way that she did coming out of nowhere, that was amazing. That was probably the best hour and a half of TV I've ever been watching TV. The Battle of Winterfell was awesome.
I agree. The challenge I have with it is there's stuff in there that were kind of clunky, like the dragons flying around the sky, not actually doing shit.
Yeah.
That kind of bothered me a little bit. But I do feel, and the fact that no one died of any note, it was kind of like, oh, it's the B players.
Jorah died. He was
Ser Jorah was like a B plus.
Yeah, but Ser Jorah was a very important character to the story.
I mean, I get that if they had written this out better, it would have been him dying would have been more because then her soul, her Daenerys, the person that would keep her on the straight and narrow would be gone, and it'd be sadder. But in the end, I was like, fuck, that's really all we got was, the best death was Mormont, the other Mormont, his niece,
Little Mormont, yeah.
Best,
one of the best kills in the series.
So I love the Battle of Winterfell. I think the Battle of the Bastards was better.
I agree.
I think the Battle of Blackwater is one of the greatest battle scenes ever on TV. Viper, why do you think this show has become such a cultural phenomenon? Why do you think people are so upset right now?
Well, firstly, you got like a show that's been around for about 10 years, so people have 10 years of their lives invested into this show. So when it ends the way that it does, and it leaves a lot of questions unanswered, people are pissed. I mean, you got Daenerys go from savior and freer of slaves to Mad Queen in in a heel turn. It's craziness. So when you got stories that are developed like not on time like that, it just makes people mad. So I just feel like I think people wanted more time than what we got with the final 2 seasons, and yeah, that's the gist of it.
And it's funny because in general, shows that go on too long usually tend to like Walking Dead right now. Even though Walking Dead, to be fair, has had a renaissance since Rick died, and I do try to encourage whoever I can tell to, it's worth giving it a shot post the death of Rick.
We're going to talk about that a little more when we talk about Walking Dead. I feel like it's actually 3 different shows at this point.
What, Walking Dead?
Walking Dead.
All right, we'll get to that next time it comes back, and we'll talk a little more about that. But in this case, this is a show that was built off a story that were bloated stories.
Right.
To begin with, I've read the books, Viper. I don't know if you have. But they were bloated stories, and I felt that the first 4 or 5 seasons of the TV show did a great job editing George R. R. Martin.
Right.
Because his stuff would be like, you would read 100 pages about, like, describing a man who was killed a page later, and you're like, why did I waste so much time? So imagine wasting enough time, reading about these characters that have no purpose because he just doesn't have a good editor.
And then that's when they ran out of books, right? After season 4 or season 5?
5. They've split 4 and 5, I think, were the one book. They did also start adding stuff into 3, 4, and 5. And the stuff they were adding were very good. They helped flesh out characters that were like consolidated characters, or characters like the Queen of Thorns didn't have as much of a presence in the books as she does in the TV show. But the moment they stopped having source material, they took George R. R. Martin's cliff notes, his bullet points, and they checked boxes. That last season was checking boxes.
It felt like it.
Yeah. So, is there anything that I don't know, Viper? What do you like? Do you recommend anyone to go back and watch this show? Like people who waited, what do you tell them now?
I mean, I can go back and tell people I can recommend people watch it because it's so good through the first 5, 6 seasons. It's so good, but I would just warn them y'all prepare yourself for a non-satisfactory ending. So
yeah, you wouldn't say Dexter bad though, right?
No, it wasn't that bad. That was worse.
That's the one thing I think nobody can really, and there's people on Twitter I've seen who are like, this is worse than Dexter. And I'm like, no, you're crazy. Like Dexter's the worst show ending. The last 4 seasons were garbage.
When the moment that the John Lithgow season ended.
Should have been the end of the show.
Show's over.
I think we've already done the worst endings ever on TV before, though. I think we've done a whole segment on that. But in this case, Game of Thrones, I'm hopeful. I'm hoping that perhaps you're laughing at something, Hambo, without actually. I didn't make a joke.
No, it's just funny because after 116 episodes, we can start rehashing old bits. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. No. People will call us out. We do have super fans that have listened to every episode, which is weird. But look, I'm very glad to have you on the show, Viper. Next time you're in New York, we'll drag you onto the couch so you can be in the tiki room.
Hell yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Anything? How can kids reach you?
They can just search Viper on Twitter, YouTube, and they'll find me.
Man About Tech, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
So, I mean, the thing is with Game of Thrones, I think it's with HBO in general, I think there was kind of no turning back because those shows were so expensive. One of the most expensive TV shows ever made. They were not going to get more budget because this is the problem when you have shows that are based on platforms based on subscribers without actual ratings. All they can get is subscribers. Now they want it to last longer because it's the most subscribed show. I mean, I'd love to know how many people canceled their HBO show subscription. I subscribed to HBO like 4 or 5 years ago because of Game of Thrones.
Right.
So at the time, pretty much the only way you can get stuff was Pirate Bay at the time.
Right.
And things were getting
Allegedly.
and they were no, that was the way to get, like, if you want to steal stuff, you go to Pirate Bay. And I believe I actually got I got dinged, I believe, by Verizon before I worked there. I got my letter, and it was HBO that got me. I think it was for True Blood though. So I was like, all right, I gotta start being a little more legal here. So I got HBO.
And see, that's another series too. True Blood, not the greatest ending, but HBO knows how to put asses in seats.
Yeah, True Blood dragged. Dragged earlier. That was a tougher show. They just didn't know where they wanted to go with that. But I found that I did subscribe because of this. I will probably stay subscribed to HBO because the app is so good.
Right.
And I love using the app to watch whenever I want. It's a great service. So that I subscribed before the app existed.
Right. Well, I mean, friend of the show, Adam Bird, on Sunday night, he was like, "Hey, come over to this guy's house." The guy couldn't do it at the last second, so Adam just shows up at my place, puts his password in, and we watch Game of Thrones on my couch.
Yeah, it works. It works. I know HBO sometimes on the last episode something will shut off all the accounts, make you relog in, screws everybody up. But there's a reason. But now I'm also very excited. Like Chernobyl right now is a fantastic show.
Right.
I highly recommend you watch it. It's a true story. There's not a ton of death. It's not feel bad, but it is kind of dark because just the topic in general.
I'm already deep into Killing Eve, so I'll get there.
You'll get there. Chernobyl's only 2 episodes, and you might want to binge after it's over. And I'm also very, 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 very curious to see how they're going to do Watchmen.
Yeah, I am curious as hell.
I'm hearing rumors Watchmen is going to be a prequel or a postquel. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the movie because the movie doesn't lend itself to a TV show.
Well, I mean, they actually probably could do it episodically like the issues and just stretch it out.
Plus, people will, but for how long? I don't know how long.
I don't think
the movie was excellent. I love the movie, and people will fight me to the death. I love the movie,
but I don't think you
so
need
much.
to. I mean, I think you could retell that story because, a lot of people aren't just going to go back and watch the movie. They just want to watch what's going to be on HBO. And they can kind of, in their own way, remake the movie to take the audiences, blend them together, and get people on board with whoever's going to be in Watchmen now.
So let's get someone else on the line. Keep talking to people. Tell them about Money in the Bank and how awesome it was.
I didn't watch it yet.
You haven't? Holy fuck.
I haven't watched it. You know what the thing was, man? I was like really, really pissed off about Game of Thrones. And you're right, I should have watched Money in the Bank, but we had just gone to NXT.
Well, I didn't either.
In Asbury Park, and it was such great wrestling. I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk blowing on the dismount.
I agree. Hey, is Mike on?
Hey, George. Hey, Hambone.
Hello. Welcome back.
Buddy.
2 weeks in a row. Mike Dolan, Executive Creative Director at Quartz, all-around awesome punk rock dude, former editor of Marcia. Does that sound good?
All true. And also you can add to that just reading the newly reissued Ghosts of Saltmarsh D&D module, which just showed up at my house.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Wrong show.
That's Monday's episode, buddy. Listen up for it.
Wrong show. Mike, we're talking Game of Thrones. We have feelings. We have a lot of feelings. You read the books. Either you or your wife did way before. I remember you talking to me about it. I think she didn't want to read. I could be confusing you with Greg and Alana, but I believe you had read the books beforehand, correct?
That is correct. I've read all of the books at least once, or twice.
And I have as well. So you are of that the other clique that, we kind of merged together around season 5 when we all became the same person.
Yeah.
No more surprises. I have not seen anything. You have kept pretty quiet about this online, Mike. What were your thoughts? How do you feel right now?
I'm trying to separate my two feelings. On the one hand, I have a lot of feelings about how grouchy people are about the way they expect the show to end, which I'm trying to separate from my feelings about it because I actually thought it was a really good ending, and in a lot of ways, I think maybe if you've read the books, but even if you sort of go back to how the show started, I feel like it was a pretty solid ending. I never expected a happy ending. You got a lot of blood and gore and death in the last few episodes. And probably the thing that made me the happiest, though, was the final scene. I'm assuming I can spoil away.
Oh, yeah, we're spoiling, right? At this point, this is all a spoiler episode.
Left and right.
So my favorite thing, though, was kind of at the end when they showed the little council. It was kind of like all of my personal favorite characters that I've loved throughout the show in this little conclave. You know, like I love Brienne, love Bronn, love Tyrion, and I just thought that was kind of like a very fun little ending for them.
You're talking about the small council. I thought you were talking about the conclave of lords that just magically appeared at King's Landing out of nowhere.
That was bizarre.
That was
I didn't
bizarre.
Really
so bizarre.
Understand where that came from.
Robin, hey,
like
Robin's back. Robin got cute. I don't know. My wife was like, "Whoa, Robin's attractive all of a sudden."
Yeah.
Is that who that was supposed to be? I was trying to figure that out.
That was the
and
kid
I
who was
never
like sucking on the
bothered to
titties
look
at like age 12, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right, flinging people out the moon door, and now he's making important political decisions.
Yeah, Robin was in there. The
hell of a
one
glow up.
nobody could figure out was the 1-2 from the left, which I think is one of the Gogon Jinns. I don't know, one of the North Lords. I don't know.
Sure.
So I think, first of all, I'm going to talk about some positive things too. Mike, I agree with you. I think we're on the same level with how this ended. Though I guess my whole thing was how they got there. I didn't love, but let me give a couple quick things I did like. I think the ending worked. I think even though I would have preferred like Tyrion on the throne all alone with just death and destruction around him, that's not what we're going to get. I thought it was subservient to do a happy ending, which nobody expected.
No.
Even though George R. R. Martin said you're not going to be happy with that name, that's probably maybe the Daenerys storyline. Ghost. Everybody can shut the fuck up. Ghost got hugged. Ghost got petted. Ghost got loved. We got Ghost love. And I thought the acting was superb all the way to the end, with the exception of the guy who played Euron Greyjoy, who just sucked dick. He was the worst. He was the worst actor. But Mike, you were going to say, like, so on one hand, you're saying like you did kind of like this. What's the other hand?
I mean, I think in a lot of ways the entire Dany story arc felt very strange to me because, and I was never Team Dany, you know, I was never a huge fan, but I appreciate it, what she did for the story. But I think it's felt to me really cheap that you spend either, however you think of it, 8 seasons of a TV show or several thousand pages of a book developing a character in a certain way. And in a span of, 2 hours of television, I guess the way I looked at it is like, well, her switch flipped and she lost her mind. And that seemed to me like like she deserved a better ending and a better set of reasoning for behaving that way, or at least a chance to at least explain why she did what she did. And then you got that extremely like very, very heavy handed, essentially like Nazi looking rally, right? Like all the symbolism is there.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you've got like fire, you've got like the black and red banners with like this very, crisp symbolism on it. And then it turns out it just seems very strange that is where Dany went that quickly, because I felt like in all the series, that was never quite her personality or the things that motivated her. So I found that very strange.
So let me ask you a question. On that note, she made Grey Worm the master of all the armies, right? Didn't you think it was kind of weird? So Jon Snow goes upstairs and he ganks Dany. That Grey Worm actually took him as a prisoner.
So I was going to say that too. Go ahead, Mike. Give your answer though. So I was free. How the hell did he get out of King's Landing alive? How did he turn himself in? Like that's a whole episode on its own. But go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. I got very angry.
I also thought it was odd. I just kind of assumed when that scene cut that you just assumed that he killed Jon Snow, especially because, right, 1 or 2 scenes before that, I mean, he literally has a line of people, of soldiers, and is slitting their throats one by one because he's like,
Yes.
well, justice has to be served. And if there was ever if you're him, what bigger case for justice could there be than him murdering the woman who's essentially like your leader and the person who liberated you from slavery?
Yeah, and on top of that, not even so much that, right? He is the master of the army. He's killing people in the streets. 2 minutes later, this woman gets killed, who's everything to him. After his girlfriend had gotten killed, don't you think he not only would have killed Jon Snow, he would have whacked Tyrion, he would have turned that army around and marched towards Winterfell and just dropped all those dudes as well. But no, he just shows up with the dragon pit. It's not enough. He needs more punishment. It's like, where was this guy when you're like beheading dudes in the street?
Oh, well, send him to the Night Watch. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. I thought that was really sloppy.
Dumb.
Again, Mike, what I felt happened here was George R. R. Martin, I thought, was giving them cliff notes. I feel he just basically gave them bullet points and they checked boxes the whole way. The whole way.
I feel that way about I would say the last 2 episodes. I agree with that they were probably given like okay, this is where these character arcs are going to end up, and they filled it in very quickly. Because up until that point, I actually thought the story felt really good, that it was kind of exactly what you want. I mean, you get Arya killing the Night King in a very dramatic way. You have that amazing scene the night before the big battle where everyone is like in the hall, kind of like acting it would it seems to me how they would in that Game of Thrones world before a battle. They're a little bit crazy. You get the greatest line possibly in the history of the TV show, which is Tormund Giantsbane screaming, "Which one of you cowards shit my pants?" I mean, that is like pure genius right there. And then all of a sudden it felt like they hit fast forward to get to a resolution in the last two parts.
Yeah, and I look, for me, I was just shocked because look, how did Baratheon and Ned Stark win and become king? They fucking murdered everybody. They killed the king, and then Baratheon's like, "I'm king." I just thought Jon Snow would be like, "Okay," either he would say it or someone would say it for it. "You are now the king. You're now the king." There's no, "Oh, you're gonna be in jail and we're just gonna like have a bunch of like great like the eunuch slaves just be like, "Oh, we now have you prisoner." It just made no sense.
It's just like, oh, after all this, we're just gonna go home.
And everyone else was like, "No, sorry, John, you gotta go to the wall. You gotta go to the Night's Watch." Like, what? Like, no, he's fucking king. He killed the queen. He took over. He had like no. That's
he did the thing that the thing is about.
Yes.
God damn it.
Now I'm angry. I was happy when the show started.
Is that maybe the point of the entire series? Is it maybe just that, everything is essentially pointless and power corrupts? Like, if that's the point of the whole story, then it really illustrates that incredibly well, right? I mean, if you seek after power, it's probably not going to have a good ending.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. John never wanted power, though.
No, he didn't.
I don't know. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. We will have you on a show. Hopefully one day you will learn how to drive again and come out to Jersey to actually be on a show when we tape it.
That might happen. I also heard there's buses. So maybe
buses, or just we might have to tape on a weekend during like a holiday or something. You're in town with your parents,
or you just take the train. I'll pick you up at the station. I'll pick you up, drop you off. Hambone's taxi.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike.
Guys.
Take care.
Enjoy. Can't wait to hear it.
Later.
All right, keep talking about Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was awesome. Oh, you did not see it?
I didn't watch it. I saw
24/7 belt. What do you think of the 24/7 belt?
I like it. I really like it. I like it because I like the funny stuff. I think it's goofy, and I think that it's going to, granted, I think that maybe they have too many titles at this point. However, it's something that is different. It's just not another title. There's no real prestige to it. It's just kill the man with the ball.
I hated it at first because I lived through the hardcore title, which is basically what this is.
Right.
But then I was like, you know what? It gives something for the B players to do.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm okay with it then.
And they might be able to create some kind of prestige with the longest running 24/7 champ lasts 6 days.
Well, I'll give it a chance. The belt's hideous though.
Oh, it's ugly as shit.
Hideous.
It looks like baby shit with a fucking...
Hello. We have Alex Claps on the phone. She is the attorney for all of Westeros. She's also married to a Samuel Tarly impersonator.
That I did not know.
Also, one of the first few people I'd met that actually had read the books well back before when.
Very cool.
And so we have another book reader on here. And I guess first question for you, Alex. Thank you for joining us today. We also have another woman on the show.
Huzzah.
This is the second one, maybe the third one ever.
Third.
We also got one more after this.
4? 2 in one night?
Crazy. This is nuts. Nuts. Boobs on the show.
Who knew?
Told you we're gentrifying. We're trying. But Alex, why can Jaime Lannister kill the king and become the head of the royal guard or whatever they're called, yet Jon Snow kills the queen and saves everybody, and he's banished to the Night's Watch that doesn't exist? Help us explain this, because we're having a tough time with this right now.
Well, it's the difference, I think, between having a new monarch and having ruled by compromise.
So it's about compromise. Maybe we don't like compromise. I don't think I like compromise anymore. You see, that's why you're a lawyer and we're not.
Not in a fantasy setting.
What were your thoughts? Did you like the last episode? Did you like the last season? What are your thoughts overall now that Game of Thrones is over, Alex?
Well, I think part of it is, like all TV, it wants to actually have an ending. And there's no ending in a saga like that. No one wins the Game of Thrones. It doesn't end. I thought that my personal wish for the ending was that they had not designated any single monarch, that they would have gone Roman triumvirate. Personally, that's what I was rooting for. They got a little bit close to that by having a multi-house cabinet, but they didn't quite pull it off the whole way.
I believe they even joked, "Oh, we might as well let the dogs have a vote too, or the horse have a vote." So clearly, they were poking fun at democracy a little bit.
See, that's the thing too. How did Tyrion get a vote? He was a prisoner.
Because he was the he was the last lord of the Lannisters. He has a house. I don't know why even the I don't understand how Jon Snow survived Grey Worm.
That's what I'm talking about.
So on this side you have Hambone, who hated it. Me, who actually thought the ending was competent until Hambone continued to talk to me for 45 minutes now. And now I'm just frustrated and annoyed, and I'll pull another nitpick out. So yeah, Jaime getting to the King's Guard and him not being allowed to. Also, how come this cabal of lords have never met before with all the problems happening? Alex, explain that to me.
Well, that is a fair question, and part of that is that some of these were allied with Cersei. They don't like to admit it, but half that whole stage left wing of them had aligned with her because they're kind of go along to get along people. They're scared of the Lannisters.
So since you're a book reader, I have to ask you the question that I should have asked Mike as well. But do you think, now everything is on George R. R. Martin. He has to finish this for us the right way. He's been set now. This was not the best ending. It's polarizing. He now has the chance to come in and hit a grand slam out the park.
Big hero
with
moment.
2 more books.
Big hero moment.
Will it happen, Alex?
I don't know if he's going to live that long. I swear to God, I'm not sure. He says they're going to be 7. I'm not sure he really means it. It may be a never-ending book series. But I never thought Jon Snow was going to be on the Iron Throne. I never thought Daenerys was going to be on the Iron Throne. So we're down to the potential pool of people is still all intact there. But he could mix it up. He could put Tyrion on the throne. Richard III ruled for a little while.
Did it bother you that Bran shifted gears from "I don't want to be king of the North" to "Yeah, I'll be the king of Westeros"? Were you slapping your husband when that was happening?
Well, I still, Bran. It's like somebody pointed out to me, or the internet pointed out to me today that. Bran conveniently forgot to mention that the last 3-eyed raven lived to be 1,000 years old. There's something that is not right about that.
Yeah, that could lead to problems and maybe some sequels. I was really bothered by the fact that Tyrion chose Bran because of the great story he had. Because Arya did have a fucking amazing story.
Yeah.
I don't know, on the level of stories.
Arya, after killing the Night King, I feel phoned it in the rest of the season.
Yes, thank you.
She got to behold a pale horse, the horse of death she rode out, and that turned into nothing. That wasn't even, didn't allude to anything. I thought maybe she'd the one who killed Daenerys. Didn't turn into anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The face switching never came back.
Nope.
There were so many softballs, so many layups that they could have taken that would have been fine.
Oh my God, I'm doing some writing right now. Fan fiction. I shouldn't be doing this. The show's over. But how amazing would it have been that after Cersei died or was being crushed and her falling around, Jaime removed his face and it was Arya.
Cool.
I don't know how she would have escaped, or maybe we let her die there. I don't know.
I would have totally fucked with that.
Final
because
person on the list.
She would have crossed off the thing on her list. See, that makes sense.
It also would have rationalized Jaime's behavior a little bit better.
Yes. That makes complete sense. Oh, by the way, I would just like to point out that when Brianna Tarth was filling in that book, I thought she should have spilled some tea. I thought she would have been like, his hand's always cold. I
want to know where her page in that book is.
Is
somebody writing her page?
No.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. I don't know.
My left hip always feels neglected.
So final scene, people talk about, is Jon Snow the new head of the Night's Watch, or continues to be? I don't know. Or is he now the new king?
He's with the wildlings.
He's the new king he's the new king beyond the wall. Even though the wall somehow reappeared after being melted.
When the fuck did that happen?
No idea, because they stopped telling us what time or date it was.
They did once.
Yeah.
They said that Jon Snow had been they made a comment about he had been in his cell for 3 weeks.
Yes.
But then after that, they kind of just went back to, now we're not going to tell you how long things are taking now. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So where are you at right now, Alex? How did the other Alex number 2, our Samuel Tully impersonator, how did he think? What do you think of the ending?
Well, we all enjoyed when Samuel Tarley walked out with that book because we were all satisfied, and that wrapped it up nicely. Although as soon as he brought it out, I was like, and Tyrion asked the question, I was like, oh, he's not in it. He's so not in it. But I felt like it did the only thing it could do to kind of satisfy things. They had to get rid of everybody with an agenda.
What are your thoughts on Varys' death? Hambone's bothered by that incredibly.
Well, where the hell were the rest of the Ravens? He got careless.
Yep.
He used to be the smart one.
But when did he not become unsmart? Like, that's the thing. He has survived so long and gotten by so good. Like, at what point does he make the fatal mistake and he fuck up? Like, come on. Out of nowhere.
I felt the same way about Tyrion. When did he stop being a funny drunk?
Yeah, when did he stop being a friend?
Yeah, there's that too.
Where was fucking Tyrion's loyalty? Of all things that you could say about Tyrion Lannister, he was one of the most loyal characters to the people he was loyal to in the show. And he just like fucking wiped his ass with it and threw it in the lake. Like, what the hell? Also, not to mention, the small council, I'm like, what, we're doing comedy now? Like, this is like a weird office comedy coming next season for HBO?
I was just going to say the same thing. I love Bronn. I think Bronn's great. I think Bronn should have had a way bigger part in some of the battle sequences. I don't think he would ever want to be part of a small council. No.
Or should ever be trusted with money.
Yes.
And that led to some jokes.
All of a sudden it's office comedy. Like,
I don't know. Anyway, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Are you? I don't know. Are you satisfied?
I am. As far as the TV will never be able to do as much as the books can. Just there's visually it's spectacular. There's the finite limits of time and characters and money that the books aren't hampered by. So. I'm looking forward to reading 6 and 7 because also the TV series eliminated my absolute favorite character from the whole book series.
Which was?
Lady Stoneheart.
But they made a good point why she's not in it. How do you ask an Emmy Award-winning actress to then play a zombie for 4 seasons?
With zeros.
That doesn't talk.
You just keep adding zeros.
I guess so, but I get what they meant with that. Anyway, thank you so much, Alex. You rock.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you guys.
So you're gonna love Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank, definitely it. Seth versus AJ.
I heard it brought the place to his knees.
Both Money in the Banks are great. I know people are upset about the ending of the men's, but I thought it was great.
Whatever.
I thought it was really, really well done, regardless. And actually, I thought it was the twist we needed to make that excellent.
Well, it's certainly the one I didn't see coming.
Skip Kofi and
really,
yeah, they came on after AJ and Seth. There was a Lars Sullivan stupid thing to cool down, but it never cooled it down enough.
At Lars Sullivan sucks.
And watch everything. And there's a women's segment that's like 45 minutes long. It both matches back to back.
Yeah, I heard.
And it's just the whole thing is great.
Yeah, awesome.
So let's get one last call in today. Another lady friend.
Has been forwarded to an automated voice message.
Oh no!
Oh, that was a full fail.
Right. So a couple other things.
No. I want to ask you. I want to talk to you.
Talk to me.
Do you want to read the books?
No, I never want to read the books.
What if the books are finished?
I have no interest in reading the books.
But you are so into sword fighting and stuff like that.
There's a lot of other stuff out there that I could read. I mean, listen, I don't agree with any of the dickheads who went out and filled out a petition to get them to reshoot the end of this show. I mean, all kidding aside and all grievances aside, the people who worked on the show, the writers, everybody, even the writers I think completely hate women. Like, people worked hard on this show. Like, they deserve to take their victory lap. Whether I liked it or not, hey, man, that's on me. It's cool to like things. It's cool to not like things. I just know for me, I don't want to waste my time on something that I've already been let down by because I feel like I should get a better ending of it. So I'm on to the next thing already.
Okay, so let's what if at the end of the books it is fucking awesome?
Well, what's cool about that is I know enough people that will be able to describe it to me very well that I'll never have to actually read the books.
You drive for very long distances.
Yes, and I try. So here's the thing. I tried listening to Game of Thrones audiobook and I almost crashed my car and died because the person who I'm narrating it talks like this.
Oh,
and this is the
he's
Game of
not
Thrones,
that bad. He's actually very, very good narrator. Though he does get like Alzheimer's halfway through the books, and they actually had to switch him out for one of the books, and people were very upset. So they brought him back, and he never got the voices right ever again. So there was that.
Why would I subject myself to that?
I don't know. But I want you to know that, I'll let you know. I will let you know, and I will push you hard if I feel you need to read the books.
I'm going to just tell you right now, I love you, brother. I'm never going to read these
What
books.
if you just start up reading the books after they split? Like, just start reading after the Dance of Dragons.
No, man, because if I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read something I'm excited about. Not something that I'm kind of like, oh, I don't feel like I should read it. I've never read The Hobbit. It's funny because I love fantasy, but I've never actually sat down and read the Tolkien. I get the gist of it. I know all about it. I'm very well versed in it. However, like, I just was like, you know what? I don't need to sit here and read all this old bullshit. It just wasn't for me. I have to invest my time in a lot of other shit just to be able to do this show. I'd rather watch things I'm psyched about, like Detective Pikachu. It was adorable. Loved it. My thing is this. End of a show is going to be end of a show. It's going to be what it is. My major complaint is that you build a character up for so many years to be a certain thing, to go a certain way, and then you cut them off at the knees at the very finish line. And that was my big problem with this season of Game of Thrones, especially. A lot of the choices that they had so much great girl power coming up in the show, and then at the end they're like, oh yeah, but you don't have a dick, so fuck off. It just, if they had more time to maybe stretch it out, it would still be shitty, but at least, they'd guide in the landing a little bit. But this, I don't know, it's just cheap writing.
And we just failed to get our last caller in, sadly. We were such a good roll, too.
I know, it had to be one.
It had to be one. It had to be one. We failed on the last one. I feel that and I've never seen The Hobbit either. And I don't think I'd ever watch the Lord of the Rings movies ever again either. Even though I've heard the 4-hour versions are the superior versions.
They actually are.
I don't think I can do it.
Right.
I think I need friends over to pull that off.
It's something that it's not great to watch with other people. Like, I love The Two Towers. It's my favorite of the movies. Whenever they play it at Retrofit, if I'm going in to do cardio and I turn and I see it on the marquee saying, hey, we have it in the theater, I will actually go and get on a treadmill and I will do like my normal cardio workout. Then I will just walk for almost another hour, and I would just walk and watch The Two Towers. But it's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to put The Two Towers on today because it's Sunday and I want to have some fun. Just doesn't work.
No, I get it. I'm excited for that. So I want the books because I want this canon to be. I want this to be canon. I don't want this TV show to be what we're left with. I don't want this to be the legacy. I think very few things can have that happen. Like with Watchmen, the movie, the Watchmen book was great until the very end, where they had this stupid MacGuffin, the squid monster, and I felt the movie did it better. I don't know why people hate the movie so much. I don't know why I keep going back to that. But
I think that movie warrants a rewatch.
I think it does.
I agree. I think it warrants a rewatch. It's just so far in the past of superhero movies at this point with what Marvel did with those 22 movies.
I mean, it's the last great DC movie.
Yeah.
Arguably the only great DC movie. But I feel that there's a place and a time for movies that are better than the books.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's not it.
I got excited for you for a second because there was that hot rumor going around real quick that George R.R. Martin secretly had the 2 books finished. He was going to drop them after, and it turned out to be bullshit.
I thought he would drop at least one.
At least one.
At midnight. How insane would that have been? That would have been it would have been insane. It would have been, I didn't think he wrote both books.
Yeah.
I just didn't have it in me. But it took 5 years between writing the last book and the one before that. It's been 9 years.
There's got to be a team of ghostwriters he could sit with to be like, all right, so this is what's going to happen. Do me. And then they'll just gimmick it all up and make it exactly how he would write it and bang that shit out. He's going to have to.
So do you know what we have now to look forward to?
What?
Better Call Saul coming back.
Oh, you love that.
Because we know they will do this right.
Right.
We are going to get an ending we truly want and deserve.
Now, is this the last season?
I think it is. I forget, but they did make us wait till 2020. I think people do have TV shows. That's whole actors want to do things other than the TV shows. I'm not liking it.
Hey man, you got to get work where you
I think they need to go full Lucha Underground and just lock them in.
That worked out so good for Lucha Underground.
which, by the way, I believe is officially dead.
Yeah, dead.
And that's kind of sad. Just to finish this off, these are our thoughts of Game of Thrones. Obviously, you should go out and watch it if you like. I think go binge. It's not a bad thing. I think now that you're not waiting, it might actually be easy. If you want to go, and what is it? It's not even. It's like 670, maybe 73 episodes. They didn't go full 8 seasons.
So here's a thought.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this lately too. I've run into people whose first experiences with Star Wars movies were the Phantom Menace.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Ewok Adventures.
No. Well, some people too, but the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, right? For those people, when you normally would sit there and take a big old shit over the Phantom Menace, they don't think it's that bad because their first experience wasn't A New Hope. They don't have that entire legacy and lineage of all the Star Wars fandom that came before that moment. Like, they're just like, oh, I want to get into Star Wars. I'll just start with the first one. And that's their first experience. I think that there's going to be a decent amount of people out there who have not read the Game of Thrones books, who have not been watching Game of Thrones since the very beginning, that also didn't watch from the very beginning and wait for this final season to come, that whatever service it hits, they're going to be able to sit down, they're going to binge it, and they're probably going to have a much more enjoyable experience with it because there's no hype. I mean, there's hype, obviously, because everyone and their mother watched the show, but there's no investment for them yet. They just get to actually just watch it as a fan watching it for the first time.
And it's a lot easier to watch than like the 8 or 9 seasons of Lost that were like 24 episodes a season. And led us to what they said, this will not be purgatory. This will not end with purgatory. It ended with purgatory. We will never forgive you.
Never forgive you, Damon Lindelof.
Well, we got our full Game of Thrones. We did an hour. And I think it actually went by pretty quickly.
I feel great about it.
We'll be back next week. We've got, again, a whole bunch of reviews we're going to be talking about. Down the line, we have Dark is coming back. I'm super excited. I've been rewatching Dark. I think right now, you should go and rewatch Dark because that is such a freaking weird show that it definitely needs a second viewing before the second season comes on. Also, there's another big TV show coming on really soon that we're really excited about. Not Stranger Things. Handmaid's Tale is coming back too. So we have a lot of great TV, a lot of good feel-bad TV, more my era of TV coming up. TV. So excited for all this stuff. You don't watch Handmaid's Tale?
I think Handmaid's Tale is a little on the nose for what's happening now in our country, so it's a little too much for me.
You would be. I think we got to bring Ian on the show or something for that. I think we have friends that do watch Handmaid's Tale, and it's just gonna be a very good month. We also went to wrestling this week. Went to NXT.
It was fantastic.
We'll talk about that next week. If you ever get a chance to go to an NXT house show, you go and do it. Just so much fun stuff. We're going to Summer Hard. I actually have plans to do stuff. I believe the week of the 10th or 11th, we got to move the date because I'm going to be in New Hampshire finding Uncle Pete in his double wide off the grid. We're going to see if we can find him again.
Can we attach a GPS to your leg so I always know where you are?
If you want, I could just GoPro the whole situation.
Yeah, I just want to know in real time that you're alive.
Oh, he's not going to kill me.
No, but you're going to the wilderness,
bro.
It's
really weird. Yeah, I know.
It's bears.
So strange. I know I ran into him when we went to that bachelor party last time. It was weird. Hambone, how can the kids reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Hambreaker, where I'm just giving my hot takes on professional wrestling, Dungeons & Dragons, and cute animals. You can also find me on Instagram, where you can see all my day-to-day adventures and the podcasts I produce at John Hambone McGuire.
Hey, I'm George. You can reach me at GLK Creative on the Instagram. You can reach me at GLK Creative on Twitter. I'm at cultofgeorge.com. I am working on a Life in a Bungalow collected volume right now, which is actually 3 issues in. I'm trying to get done for the 25th anniversary next year of the fanzine that nobody remembers and nobody really wants to see and does not age well. But I'm excited to do it. Anyway, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the show. We love hearing from you, even when you reach out to us. Alex reached out to us yesterday. You did not reply, but I took care of things. Did you reply?
I don't know.
I
haven't been on the Facebook much.
But you got Messenger is how our fans reach us. You need to be on Messenger at least. So
I didn't get message.
You got really nice message told you. Go check your thing. Check your thing. Anyway, we should have him on the show soon. I am George. This is Hambone. Hambone, take us out. Oh, I did the censor button, and it's really long.
It's a really long censor.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I even have the censor button. Hambone.
We curse a lot.
But we never use the censor button.
Never use the censor button.
Take us out.
Everybody remember, be nice. Aloha.
Серой болью всю душу свело, кокаина серебряной.